On the night of August 24th, 2024, a private jet touched down at Le Bourget Airport outside Paris. The man on board had 4 passports, a fortune estimated in the billions, and an app used by over 900 million people. He also had no idea French police were waiting for him on the tarmac. Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram, was arrested before he left the runway. Here is the part that stays with you. Durov didn't build a platform that was hard to regulate. He built one that was designed to be impossible to regulate. That was the whole point. And when governments couldn't touch the platform, they arrested the man instead. To understand how a man ends up in a French detention cell for running a messaging app, you have to go back to Saint Petersburg in 2006. Pavel Durov was 22 years old. He had just finished a degree in philology, literature, language, at Saint Petersburg State University. What he wanted was to build a website for his classmates, a place to stay in touch after graduation. He started coding, building nearly everything himself in those first months. The back end, the front end, the design, the early promotion. VK, as it became known, grew fast, very fast. Within a few years, it was the most popular social network in Russia and Eastern Europe. Durov was nicknamed Russia's Zuckerberg. His office was in Singer House, a building on Nevsky Prospect, the main boulevard of St. Petersburg, 5 and 6 floors above the street. In 2012, he opened a window and threw paper airplanes made from 5,000 ruble banknotes into the crowd below. Each note was a significant denomination. He scattered them into the street for strangers. This is the early image of Pavel Durov, young, wealthy, defiant, slightly theatrical. A man who did whatever he wanted and dared anyone to stop him. In 2011, police came to VK's office demanding he remove pages belonging to opposition politicians after Russian parliamentary elections. Durov refused. He posted a photo of a dog wearing a hoodie, sticking its tongue out, as his response to their request. The police left after an hour. The pages stayed up. He was, at this point, a folk hero. The man who told the Russian government no and got away with it. But 2013 changed everything, and then 2014 finished it. In late 2013 and into 2014, Ukraine was in the middle of the Maidan protests, a mass uprising that would eventually topple the country's pro-Russian president. The Russian FSB, the Federal Security Service, came to Durov with a demand: hand over the personal data of Ukrainian VK users who were participating in the protests. And while you're at it, block the page of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Durov did not comply quietly. He posted the government's orders publicly on his own VK page. He told the FSB no in writing for everyone to see. On April 21, 2014, he was fired as VK's CEO. VK passed into the hands of investors linked to Mail.ru Group, a company with Kremlin connections. Durov left Russia. He later said publicly that he lost his company and his home because of that refusal, and that he would make the same choice again without hesitation. This is the moment that matters. Not because it was dramatic, though it was, because of what it calcified in Durov. The lesson he took from losing VK was specific. Governments will try to reach you through your platform. The only protection is to make the platform unreachable, not encrypted in some places, not private when convenient. Structurally, architecturally, philosophically ungovernable. He was 30 years old, stateless, and absolutely certain he was right. Ungovernable Telegram launched in 2013, just as things were falling apart at VK. Pavel and his brother Nikolai, a mathematician and programming competition medalist who had built VK's technical architecture, designed it from scratch with a single purpose in mind: communication that no government could intercept, monitor, or shut down. Nikolai built a new data transfer protocol from the ground up. Messages would travel faster, the app would scale to hundreds of millions, and crucially, it would be built to resist. But here is the thing almost no one noticed at the time. Telegram's default chats are not end-to-end encrypted. The messages you send in a standard Telegram conversation, the kind most people use, are stored on Telegram's servers. The company can technically access them. End-to-end encryption exists on Telegram, but only if you activate a secret chat manually. Most users never do. So, Telegram wasn't a fully encrypted platform. What it was a platform that refused to cooperate with anyone. That's a different thing. No moderation team worth the name. No serious framework for government data requests. Groups of up to 200,000 members, open to anyone. Channels broadcasting to millions with no accountability. Durov positioned this as freedom. He called the platform neutral. What it actually was unresponsive. The design looked like principled resistance. But resistance and indifference produce the same outcome for the people who get hurt inside the walls. The growth was remarkable. 500 million monthly active users in 2021, 700 million by 2022, 800 million by 2023, over 900 million by 2024, approaching a billion. And as the platform grew, so did something else. Researchers began documenting what Telegram had become underneath its public face. Cybersecurity analysts called it the dark web in your pocket. Drug trafficking, arms sales, financial fraud, child sexual abuse material. Not in encrypted secret chats where Telegram couldn't see it, but in ordinary channels accessible to anyone. A study of criminal activity on Telegram found that narcotics dominated the illegal marketplace. A UN report on synthetic drug trafficking identified Telegram as a primary tool for organized crime across multiple continents. The largest criminal marketplace documented on Telegram had over 820,000 users. It operated as an escrow service for criminal transactions. Think of it as Amazon for illegal goods, with customer reviews. In February 2024, French cybercrime investigators quietly opened a preliminary probe. By July 8, 2024, they had enough to open a formal judicial investigation into CSAM, drug trafficking, and organized fraud conducted through the platform. And that same month, Telegram's user count was surging past 900 million. The platform was setting records. The investigation was accelerating. Durov was in Dubai, building the next phase of his empire. On the evening of August 24, 2024, Durov's private jet descended toward Le Bourget Airport, northeast of Paris. He was flying in from Azerbaijan. He landed. The plane taxied. The door opened. French police were waiting at the bottom of the steps. Durov was detained on the spot. There was no chase, no dramatic standoff. He walked off the plane and into custody. A man who had spent a decade building a platform, specifically so governments could not reach him, had just stepped off a plane in a country that had a warrant for his arrest. The irony wasn't subtle. He was held for the legal maximum under French law, 96 hours. In that detention cell, investigators from Junalco, France's national jurisdiction against organized crime, and from OFMIN, the office handling crimes against children, confronted him with more than a dozen specific cases, not abstract policy failures, specific incidents. Child abuse, drug deals completed via Telegram channels, arms sales, a contract killing allegedly arranged through the app. Durov later admitted that, during those 96 hours, he came to understand the seriousness of the allegations in a way he hadn't before. On August 28th, 4 days after landing, he was formally indicted on 12 charges. The central allegation was complicity. Not that he committed these crimes himself, but that his deliberate choice to not moderate the platform, to not cooperate with investigators, to make Telegram structurally unresponsive, made him complicit in everything that happened inside it. He was released under judicial supervision. 5 million euros bail. A ban on leaving France. Required to check in at a police station twice a week. The man who spent a decade making himself unreachable was now required to report his location twice a week to the French government. Emmanuel Macron stated publicly that the arrest was not a political decision, that judges, not politicians, would determine the outcome. No one said much about the timing. The 12 charges against Durov are not primarily about what Durov did. They are about what he didn't do. French law allows for criminal complicity. When someone knowingly fails to act against crimes they have the power to prevent. The argument prosecutors are making is this: Telegram's standard chat messages are stored on the company's servers, unencrypted, accessible to Telegram staff. Criminal activity was documented, reported, and obvious. Durov's platform refused to cooperate with law enforcement requests. That refusal, French prosecutors say, makes him complicit. Complicity in child sexual abuse material, complicity in drug trafficking, complicity in organized crime. The most serious charge carries up to 10 years in prison and a €500,000 fine. If this theory holds in a French court, the implications reach far beyond France. Every platform operator, every CEO of every messaging service, every social network, every file sharing tool becomes potentially liable for what their users do inside the product. The safe harbor that has protected the internet's architecture for 3 decades could begin to crack. There is a moment worth pausing on. Telegram's response to the arrest was, initially, defiance. The platform called it absurd to hold a company owner responsible for the actions of users. Then, in September 2024, weeks after the arrest, Telegram quietly announced changes to its content moderation policies. Features that had been exploited for illegal activity were removed. The platform that couldn't be governed began, in small ways, to govern itself. The man who built a fortress because he refused to cooperate with governments had just demonstrated that he could cooperate when the cost became personal enough. Telegram ended 2024 with revenue of $1.4 billion and a profit of $540 million. The company was, financially, thriving. More than 12 million subscribers paid for Telegram Premium. The business was growing in exactly the way Durov had always said it would. But the founder was checking in with French police twice a week at a station in Paris. It's tempting to call this a story about censorship, about a government going after someone who refused to play along, but that framing lets everyone off too easily. Durov built Telegram to protect political dissidents. The same architecture that shields a journalist in a repressive country shields a drug cartel in a liberal one. The same refusal to cooperate that protected protesters in Ukraine protected people who traded in images of children being abused. He didn't intend either outcome, but intention and consequence stopped overlapping somewhere around the 900th million user. Here is the obvious blind spot. Durov planned for governments trying to control him. He did not plan for the thing his platform became when hundreds of millions of people used it and no one was watching. The charges are still pending. The trial timeline is still forming. By March 2025, French judges allowed him to temporarily leave the country. The restrictions ease through the year, but the legal theory remains open. That a platform owner can be held personally liable for the harm his users cause inside a tool he chose to leave ungoverned. If that theory wins, the internet changes. If it loses, so does something else.